Hey everyone, and welcome to Theories and Thrones, and today we're talking all about the series finale of Game of Thrones. I'm exhausted. I'm Leanne Aguilera from Entertainment Tonight.
And I'm also exhausted, and Mike Rougeau from GameSpot. We're excited to start hearing all of your thoughts about the Iron Throne, which is what it was called. We have a lot to discuss.
Yeah, start sending us your questions, comments, theories, and overall thoughts about this episode. So you can shout it out in the YouTube comments, or you can also tweet us.
But as always, before we get started, the thing that we have to say, this is an after show, go away if you haven't watched the finale yet.
If you're not freaking out over the finale, you're about to be, because spoiler alert.
Yeah.
All the spoilers, series finale spoilers. Okay, what did you guys think about Dany's death, the fact that there is no more Iron Throne, and that the Starks are all split up? Tell us your thoughts, because we will be including them. Plus, we're going to be sharing an exclusive montage video with the Game of Thrones cast revealing how they really feel about their on-screen fate. Mike, how you doing right now? Tell me your quick overall thoughts about the episode.
Well, we got some comments already, and I wanted to read one because this basically summed up how I felt.
Really well, yeah.
So Kyle Faraday wrote, "The places the characters ended were more or less fine. The machinations and execution to get them there, yikes."
Yeah.
I agree. So my thoughts to this episode are similar to last week because I liked this episode. And it feels like there's a parallel universe somewhere where we got 2 proper seasons of good storytelling, what Game of Thrones used to be to get here.
Yeah.
And it would feel so much more satisfying. And it didn't, like, I enjoyed most of the beats in this episode. There were things that were unexpected, things that I think ended really beautifully in a poetic way, like the way we wanted them to, like Brienne writing Jaime's page in the book. Because of how we got here, it feels a little bit cheap.
I agree. So Dustin Lawrence also commented and said, wow, there should be another 5 seasons after that episode. Truthfully,
Totally.
I don't think my heart could stand another 5 seasons, especially if it was like season 8. But overall, I really loved this episode. I thought that it was the best bow we could have hoped to wrap up on this season. Just as certain scenes I felt like were being too long. Like, for example, like when Jon was talking with Tyrion, there were certain times where I was like, God, this is going on for a long time.
I loved that scene, but it was also...
then when I listened to the content of it, I was like, this is beautiful and amazing. But the beginning part of the episode did feel a little bit slow to me. And I was like, do they not realize this is the series finale?
Yeah.
But let's really jump all into it. Let's talk about the biggest question of every Game of Thrones episode. Who died? Who died? And you know who died in this one? R.I.P. Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
We
God.
called it.
That was heavy, though.
That was heavy. Mike, when you, like, first of all, let's take it back a little bit. Dany is there. She's reigning over the leftover unsullied Dothraki, and you're seeing her mindset. What were your thoughts?
Somebody needs to kill her. Like, to see her stand on the ashes. My big problem with that scene, and maybe it was deliberate, maybe this is the conflicted feeling that I was meant to have, which is she has no self-reflection in that moment about the fact that she has become the thing that she always swore she wasn't going to be, which is Queen of the Ashes.
Yeah.
She's become that, but she's standing up there like this is a huge victory, right? She's standing up at the top of those stairs like, we did it, and now we're going to go do it even more. And I was just like, please, somebody put an end to this.
And it's Jon Snow who actually put the end to it. When we're seeing them have this conversation, it was that moment before he stabbed her that, Mike, you and I wanted this whole season, them agreeing to rule together, to balance each other out, be that ice and fire blend that we wanted. And then just as it looked like he's like, you are my queen, I will be by your side.
You're my queen now and forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We watched that light drain out of her eyes as he stabbed her.
Jeez.
I truly, like, no offense, Jon, I did not think you had it in you.
Yeah, I leaned over to Leanne. We watched it. I mean,
together.
We just watched it,
Yeah.
and I leaned over to Leanne and I said, he's going to stab her right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe he did, though, because most of my predictions about this season
so
turned
many
out to be
fans wanted it to be Arya disguised as Jon to be able to do that, but Jon would have had to have died for her to be able to take his face. So
there was one. People have brought this up to me a lot because I've been talking a lot about Arya taking various people's faces throughout this season, Bran or Jon or Jaime. And there was one moment in season 6, I think, when Jaqen wore Arya's face.
Yes.
When she was like about to leave,
And she was still alive. You're right. You're right. Yes. So it is possible.
There's layers to the faceless man magic that ultimately don't matter because it's over.
We're getting in so many amazing comments right now. Crystal said, what a waste. Astrid said, I feel as though they made Dany go mad so quickly so that she could get killed off, which allows for everyone else's endings. This is very true, which leads us into our next death of the episode, R.I.P. the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
The Iron Throne, which I actually was so pleased with this.
Yeah, get rid of it. There was a funny moment before that where she was talking about what she envisioned 1,000 melted swords to be like.
Yes.
Which kind of was a meta reference to the fact that
George R.R. Martin always envisioned it to be this giant, massive swords.
Yeah, there's various like artworks of the Iron Throne online, like fan art or whatever, that George has publicly said, this is more like what I envisioned, where it's this huge mountain of swords. So I thought that was a fun moment, but
Drogon burned it all regardless.
Yeah, so it doesn't really
I thought
matter.
that was incredible. So heartbreaking though to watch Drogon try and wake up Dany and try and wake up his mother and see if she was okay. And I thought this was a really fitting end for it all. And he's a smart little dragon to realize that that was the reason why his mom died.
Well, I think Drogon understands symbolism a little better than the actual showrunners do.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
How many of you out there thought that Drogon was actually going to burn up Jon though? Raise your hand if you thought for a brief second that that's what was going to happen.
I was hoping this would be the moment where Jon. There's always the question throughout the whole series: is he going to be a Targaryen or is he going to be a Stark in the end? And he wound up being a Stark. But I was hoping that would be the moment where he would have his, emerge from the fire, unburnt moment, like Dany did at the end of season 1. And that would be like, he's a Targaryen, but we're going to talk about that later.
Definitely.
RIP.
Let's highlight some of these comments right now because there's amazing. Vera Kiersey said, certainly CGI was definitely rushed. I would actually disagree. I thought the CGI in this episode looked fantastic, but I'm so glad that you're commenting in.
Some of the backgrounds, I think, looked a little bit. There were moments where I was like, I could sense the green screen, and that's never good. But
when I sensed it the most was when Missandei died. That's when I sensed the green screen the most.
That whole set in episode 4 looked completely unreal. And people compared it to like overhead like aerial shots that we've had of King's Landing, and it's like this area
doesn't exist.
And it just looked super fake.
Yeah.
I thought this episode looked good though.
Yeah, I thought it looked great. Nana said, I wanted Dany to just fly off with her dragons. Technically, she did.
Kind of.
Because Drogon just scooped her on up and then just flew off with her.
I mean, there's a lot of speculation among book readers about the kind of dual warging abilities of Starks with their wolves and Targaryens with their dragons, because it's never really explained how Targaryens can control their dragons
when they're flying on top of them. Yeah.
Right. And the show kind of just glossed over it when Dany got the Dothraki back, at her side, and she just kind of went away for a couple hours and then came back and was just fully in control of Drogon, and that was it. And so I have to wonder if that scene in the books will be a lot different, and it'll be, Dany waking up to these magical abilities that the show has sort of tried to sweep under the rug for the last few seasons. And the final, scene could be interpreted maybe as Dany warging into Drogon at the last minute and living life as the dragon that she always wanted to be.
Let's talk about the fact that Dany is gone and she did not get to sit on the Iron Throne.
She didn't even sit on it.
which leads us into our next segment, which is OMG GOT, where we talk about the biggest moments of the night, because you know what? Dany never got to sit on the Iron Throne. The Iron Throne is destroyed, and now it's all hail Bran the Broken.
Yeah, my favorite joke that I've seen so far, and it's only been a few minutes, granted, but I think this one is pretty good, is that Bran warged into Drogon to melt the Iron Throne to build himself a ramp for his wheelchair. Because that's why he came south, so.
It's the long game. It's really the long game for Bran. But you know what? Okay, so let's talk about it. After Dany died, after Drogon flew off with her, we got a bit of a time jump by the length of Tyrion's beard. I'm going to say 3 months.
Yeah, a month. So 1 to 3
something
months.
Like that. Long enough, yes.
Well, long enough for them all to get down there.
Long enough for this new council to all come together.
Depending which episode of the show we're watching, that can take anywhere from a month to a few hours.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I wonder how quickly it took Gendry to run down there. But so we had this new council, and they were trying to figure out who was going to be the new king and or queen of Westeros. everyone kind of laughed at Sam, saying, "Oh, honey, no, we're not doing a democracy."
They got partway there. They actually got to a representative democracy, which is kind of what we have.
Yeah.
You know, whether that works out for them, we'll see. They also, Sansa had a moment where she, I think Edmure was starting to mansplain diplomacy.
The whole situation, and she goes, "Sit down, Uncle."
I mean, it was.
Sit down.
I was shocked at how many characters that we have not seen in a very long time returned in that scene, and it felt like a nice little one of those scenes that they just needed to wrap up certain things. Like, yes, Edmure was rotting in the dungeons at Riverrun, or the twins, or I forget exactly where he was, but he's here.
Yes,
and yes,
he's here.
Robin Arryn is still around somehow, looking pretty good considering
He looks nice.
Mostly been a sickly weirdo.
Ugh.
The new Prince of Dorne was there.
Who we had no idea who it was. Okay, here is one of my regrets about episode 5 is that I would have loved to have seen the fact that Cersei still had the Dorne. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name right now, and I'm killing me.
Oh, Ilaria Sand?
Ilaria Sand, thank you. I'm so sorry, because I wanted to say Marcella,
Down
but
in
she
a
killed
dungeon,
her.
rotting,
I wanted
watching
to see her realize that the world was shaking and crashing down around her.
Yeah, well, Ilaria presumably is dead at this point.
Yes.
Cersei left her down there long enough to watch her daughter's body rot
Decompose,
or something.
yeah, but
super dark stuff. No need to follow up on that.
But that's
right?
why I wanted Cersei to have a more dangerous death, because she was the queen of doing
cruel.
that to other people. Joshua said Sansa played and won the game. Ooh, I love that.
I guess, yeah.
And Danielle says, I was so happy that Sansa became Queen of the North. Oh, we're definitely going to be getting into all of the Starks right now.
Well,
but,
we were talking about that moment too when we were watching, because like Yara immediately goes, I for Bran.
Exactly.
And then Sansa goes, nah. And we like wanted the camera to go back to Yara and be like, hold up, can
was that
we
an option?
change our vote? I did not know.
I didn't know that could we just break away too? Because the Iron Islands actually don't want to be part of this.
I know, I was like, the 6 kingdoms now.
Yes.
Why does the North get to be exempt from this? And I was just like, Bran is biased.
Well,
like, this doesn't make any sense.
Let's talk about the fact that Bran knew this was happening the entire time, okay?
Yeah.
And so he pictured this entire thing happening.
He let a lot of innocent people die so he could be king.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up, and I feel like the show did not really reflect on that very well.
How do you think that Bran is going to be as a ruler now that he's on the Iron Throne?
I mean, it's my wife texted me right after the episode ended, and she said, like, how do we think George, the author, is going to build up to this in the books compared to how it happened in the show? And I said, I'm guessing he probably won't write Bran as a soulless, dead-eyed shell of a person for 3 seasons leading up to it, because like the Bran that we have come to know in the show is like a weirdo who doesn't care about anything and sits around so he can like do side eyes at people, and like I don't care about that character anymore. And so it felt like I don't know who he is anymore, and he let even saying to Jon, like, you were exactly where you were supposed to be. Like, you let all of this horrible death happen.
Couldn't you have,
so you could be here?
Yeah, couldn't you have warned people and let them know? Like, his cheeky little line of like, why do you think I came all the way down here?
So
I was
out
like,
of character.
Kind of a dick move, Bran. Like,
Super
I get
dick
that you
move.
want to have like this great moment, but like truly, that's not the time or place.
I guess the thinking is that Bran would be a good king.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, the person who doesn't want it is the person who should rule the most, and we've always applied that to Jon. Jon doesn't want it, and so Jon would be a good ruler, and he arguably would have. The same sentiment could apply to Bran. It's just I don't recognize that character as Brandon Stark. He's a shell of a
And it's very interesting that they're hailing him as Bran the Broken. Not Bran the Three-Eyed Raven, not Bran, he was named after Bran the Builder, but I don't know. It just sounds like, who's your king? Bran the Broken.
Name. I mean, there's a lot of symbolism in there that I feel like I'm going to need 24 hours at least to unpack, but it's interesting.
You guys are already sending in so many amazing comments. Matthews was saying Drogon was amazing, and Amira was saying, I hope that Drogon would burn Jon. I hated that all the Starks survived. I mean, no. Interesting take.
I would like to point out that not all the Starks survived, because my boy Robb, King of the North, R.I.P., did not survive, okay? Robb is very dead, and that was crushing, and I'm glad no other Starks died, honestly. Like, we got that all out of the way. Like, I did feel that some characters should have died throughout the last couple of seasons to remind us this was Game of Thrones, but they didn't. So many people made it to the last 2 episodes.
Well, you know what? Bran might have been the one who ended up on the Iron Throne, but who actually deserved the Iron Throne? More right after this.
Damn it! Daenerys!
Me.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
But you don't like when I say that because you think I'm going to say,
Damn it, you've spoiled it.
He's the cuddle that you need after all this shit.
You're going to advise me
Advise you on what?
how to get what I want.
The Iron Throne. Perhaps you should try wanting something else.
In your opinion, as we go into season 8, who do you think deserves the Iron Throne?
I mean, I do! Damn it! Daenerys! Yeah, whatever all the other people who deserve it more, but no, I'm gonna say the Mother of Dragons should get the throne.
I will dedicate myself to seeing you on the Iron Throne because I choose you.
Like Khaleesi. Khaleesi.
I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Not Jamie Lannister, Nikolai Coster-Waldau deserves the Iron Throne.
Hodor.
Hold on.
He can't do it.
Hold on.
Yeah, but he could still deserve it.
Hold on.
I suppose you could go back and change time, couldn't you?
Yeah. Easy.
Hold the door!
Damn it, you've spoiled it.
Hold on.
But that's not what happened, is it?
He needs to know the truth.
I would give it to Brienne of Tarth, because I think she's a very strong, noble person, and Westeros deserves that.
I will shield your back and keep your counsel and give my life for yours if need be.
I think Sansa, but you don't like when I say that because you think I'm going to say Samwell.
I keep thinking she's going to say Samwell, and I'm like, oh really? And then it's not that at all. But I think everybody's got their pluses and their minuses. Nobody deserves it outright. I wasn't sure if you'd remember me.
Samuel Tarly.
Really?
Yeah.
Any
Come
particular
on.
reason?
He's just the one that you want to just the good, the best guy. He's the cuddle
You're a good man.
Oh, thank you.
that you need after all this shit. And he's just a good person. He has a sense of humor. He's warm. He's empathetic. He's funny.
He's not arrogant.
He's not arrogant. He's got it all.
From now on, wherever you go, I go to.
I'm going to say Dany.
I mean, I want to say Dany because it feels like she's the one that's put the most effort into it. You know, like if you were looking at like a political campaign, she's put in the hard yards.
Yeah.
But she actually has a claim to it, so...
I'd probably say Jon Snow. However, I should really say Gendry.
This I know.
But I'd like to see Tyrion on there because I think he'd probably do the best job given what he's been through. I think he'd be interested to see what he made of it.
Ned Stark.
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow?
Jon Snow.
He saw something in Jon, and now we've all seen it too.
I'm surprised you didn't say Jon Snow.
No, I think that Ned Stark should have had it in the beginning.
Me.
No!
Ron definitely deserves it more.
Listen to me.
All right, that's only because you've done more seasons then.
Yeah, who deserves it?
The one who gets it.
There's only one reward I want.
I don't think anyone deserves it. I think everyone just needs to stop being so obsessed with this bloody Iron Throne.
Yeah, there's so much more to this bloody story.
Yeah, I know. And it causes so much conflict, and I just think, let's just...
Yeah, water cooler debates, it's just a nightmare.
Leave it be, guys.
Does it matter?
Sir Pounce.
Sir Pounce, he does deserve the Iron Throne. That's who I would like to see on it. Everyone's just dead, and then Sir Pounce just hops right on out.
That would be great.
That's a Pounce.
Can we talk about Sir Pounce real quick?
Do you think he survived?
Do you think he's still around? There's a lot of cats in the books that are not in the show, and Sir Pounce has like a bigger role, which is stupid to say. But there's also like some tomcat that there's all these theories that it was Targaryen princess's cat that's like still around in King's Landing, like biting people and harassing them, and Arya chases this cat around. So I wonder if that cat is still alive.
These are the questions that are going to keep us up at night.
This is what I think about. So
let's continue on with our biggest moments of the episode. Next up, let's meet the new small council, because, or should we call them the larger council?
No, I feel like the large council.
The large council is the one who elected.
Yeah, so they're
Bran.
going to meet.
Yes.
Did they say how often?
They said we're not going to be having the king's children be our
Yeah.
new king. We're gonna, once that person dies, then we're gonna re-elect a new king or queen every time. But we did get a new small council with the Song of Ice and Fire, and I thought that was really interesting, the fact that they wove that into the show.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing theory.
Yes.
For the book and for the show, which is that at the end of it all, Sam will somehow write the Song of Ice and Fire, which Archmaester or Maester Ambrose or whatever, his boss did it, I guess, but he helped, and he came up with the title. So that theory basically panned out. I thought it was kind of mean that Tyrion is not mentioned in that book, apparently.
I was fine with it.
It was also kind of like Tyrion was the hand to like 3 different monarchs, depending how you count it. He murdered his father, one of the most powerful lords in Westeros, so I feel like he should get a mention.
Honestly, I feel like it also just goes back to the fact that he had to serve as Bran's hand of the king because it was his punishment. So
his atonement.
I think truly Tyrion has only ever wanted attention and to be known as the cleverest man alive. So the fact that he wasn't included in the book, I found fine.
That's true. I wonder who's in charge of Casterly Rock now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about this. This is what we get when we go live
when we
right
go
as
live
the episode
right
ends.
after the episode. All of our thoughts. Thank you for
Tyrion's-
bearing with us right now.
Tyrion's whole thing. Jaime's in the Kingsguard. Who he wants Casterly Rock. He's always trying to get Tywin to make him Lord of Casterly Rock and accept him as his son. Who's Lord of Casterly Rock now? Is it just maybe he won't be hand forever? I don't know.
What did you think about the fact that Bronn is now part of the small council and that he?
I don't know. Who cares about Bronn?
I mean, I used to care about Bronn. I really did, and then I feel like they really kind of assassinated his character in this last season.
He just didn't have anything to do. Like, I think they kept him around because people like the actor, and I like the actor, and Bronn is fun to have around. Bronn didn't really have a place in this season.
Interesting.
Right? And Bronn as the Lord of Highgarden is just straight up nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, Bronn's Jon Royce he's there. He's still hanging out. Why the hell would Bronn's Jon Royce, who is a badass, in the books, my headcanon is books, why would he listen to Bronn just because Jaime told Bronn that he could? It's just like, come on. That's what I think.
I'm like, all right. It was nice to see that Sam is a maester and that he's really kind of got to live out his lifelong dream and really be heralded for it. So I thought that was really wonderful. And it was really sweet, though, to see Tyrion really take that small council meeting so seriously, fix all the chairs, and then everyone just messes them right on up. I just thought it was really...
I really liked the slow zoom out with the kind of fade to black. I'm glad that wasn't the ending, but it was an ending.
Yes.
And what that ending said to me is life goes on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so much has changed, but in so many ways it's business as usual.
I was really thinking that they were going to end it there, but they didn't, and I'm so glad they didn't, because then it led us into having... we get to shine the spotlight on the Starks. So let's move on to our next segment, which is Long Live the Starks. I loved the Starks. I loved the fact that we had this, and it was so great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that, okay, so we have Bran on the Iron Throne. We have Sansa ruling the North. We have Arya going off to find out what's west of Westeros. And then Jon, if you like it or not, I'm not quite sure, had to take the Black.
Yeah.
I did not know that the Night's Watch was still a situation,
We were trying to figure out why the Night's
Watch
Watch still exists, because there's no more White Walkers.
Yeah.
Although I guess they could theoretically come back in another 8,000 years or something. There's no more White Walkers. There's no more wildlings, really, because we're all friends now.
Yes, we
and
are
the
all
wall
friends.
is broken, so why do we need a Night's Watch still?
Well, CJM said, I think Jon was just happy with the wildlings.
I think so too. I think that's where he wanted to be. And the fact, like, we can have a whole section about this later, but the fact that he's with Ghost.
Oh, we're gonna freak out over that later too.
Yeah, but he's back with his people, right? Like, I feel like that was
he
where
always felt most comfortable with that.
That's where he felt he belonged.
Exactly.
And so I think it is a good ending for him. I'm sad for the Targaryens as a dynasty, as a family, because there were good Targaryens as well as bad Targaryens.
The fact that he never chose to embrace his identity as Aegon Targaryen was really surprising to me.
Yeah, and I do feel like that is something that we will get a lot more of in the books, because
I'm glad.
When the show did Jon riding Rhaegal, there are so many details of that just weren't really brought up in the show, like the fact that Rhaegal is named after Jon's father is a huge deal. And there's this whole other character, Quentin Martell, in book 5, who tries to ride a dragon and gets melted. And he's like a perspective character for that book, but like riding a dragon is a huge deal, and the show kind of played it as this like lighthearted, like never-ending story, kind of like fun jaunt for Dany and Jon, and I wanted more weight to that, especially given that we're never really gonna get, this is the end of the Targaryens, right?
Delani had a really great comment, and she said Jon didn't deserve the throne because he didn't want it, the most qualification, which I've got to agree about. I would have been a little bummed to see Jon on the throne just because he so adamantly kept saying, I don't want it. And then Bran, who we really thought didn't want it, was like, actually, I wheeled my butt down here all the way from the north. I'm here for this throne because I've known that I was going to get it this entire time.
Yeah, if you want to read that, if you want to be a glass half full person, we can read that as Bran has seen history and knows the future, I guess, and he knows that he's the best option, I guess, or at least that's what he's telling people now.
Astrid says Samwell 2020. I like that. I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
Are they going to vote every 4 years?
Yeah. Let's see. Primary Perspective says, I would love an Arya spinoff. Yes. I would love an Arya spinoff too. Do I think Maisie Williams would be into it? Probably not.
Yeah, she probably wants to. She's probably as sick of this as anyone is.
She wants to live her own life, I'm sure. But
I do like what Shady said a few minutes ago, which is Arya is the next Columbus. She's just like going to go fill in maps now, I guess. Like that was a line that she had earlier in the series that a lot of people pointed to, is like, this is probably where her story is gonna, end ultimately. And it did, I think it's okay for some things to be predictable.
Well, I was happy about that because, she didn't want to be Gendry's lady. She was never the Lady of Winterfell. That was Sansa's whole deal. But, oh my God, to see them say Queen in the North for Sansa, I screamed at our screen, and I think I hurt your eardrum, so I'm really sorry about that.
No, I was screaming too.
It was incredible. It was so great to see her. She had such an amazing crown, too.
Yeah, she looked awesome, and her dress was like the red flowers on the white cloth, like the werewood, which was some great. I mean, the costumes in the show have been fantastic throughout. Not to bring up King Rob, R.I.P. again, but to hear them yelling for the third time, a new monarch in the North. We got King in the North.
King in the North
at
for
the
Rob.
end of season 1. In the finale, like back when we were in it, we were in the trenches. King in the North,
good old days.
King in the North.
Yes.
That's one of the most hype moments in the book.
And then seeing Lyanna Mormont really do that for Jon, as
also hype.
As Dany or as Sansa said that she wanted that for him, but then you realize it was sinking in with her in that moment. Maybe she wanted to be queen.
Well, she's the true Stark, right? Yeah. There always there's a saying in the books, which is there always needs to be a Stark in Winterfell.
Yep.
And Jon is he embraces his, Starkness, but he's not really a Stark. He's, it's a patriarchal society in the literal sense, in that, family names are passed down on the father's side. So he is a Targaryen. So it would not have fit for him to wind up being the King in the North ultimately.
Yeah.
Queen in the North, though.
John says, wiping out all the Starks would have been a fitting ending. Something of a shock value. 0 shock this season. I would agree. There wasn't a really truly shocking death this season.
I was shocked at the death of the writing throughout episodes 3 and 4. But yeah, no, I agree. Like Rhaegal's death was shocking.
Rhaegal's death was shocking in a really frustrating way.
In a really bad way, because it was shock value, but not the right kind. Like, the Red Wedding, that's shock value, but it's something that we can look back at the events leading up to it and say, yeah, this all made sense.
Yeah.
Rhaegal dying is shocking because it doesn't make sense how they got ambushed, and like, we're not gonna relitigate all of this, but I agree. I think there could have been something a lot more shocking.
And one of the things that I loved so much about earlier seasons of Game of Thrones was when there was a betrayal, there were the tiny nuggets that led to it. So that, like, for example, when Shae betrayed Tyrion and turned on him, that was such an amazing moment where you realized it, and they're in the courtroom, and like, you understood why it happened, but you didn't see it coming. Jon killing Dany, on the other hand, it was satisfying, but it was either Jon was going to kill her, or Arya was going to kill her, or
I feel it would have been shocking if she had killed Jon, or if she had killed Tyrion or something. Rami asks, what is the point of Jon's whole identity? This is something
I
that
just
we were
said,
talking about at
yes.
the end, right? The fact that he is the last Targaryen in the end doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What it really was fodder for the conflict between Jon and Dany.
Mm-hmm.
And that's disappointing to me, I think. I think I wanted that to matter more.
I wanted his identity to matter to him more.
Yeah.
Is what it really was.
It didn't seem to affect him. He never really, and this is
He never
what
really
is,
took pride in it.
it's what's lost in the show is getting their inner monologues.
Yes.
And, you know, their inner lives of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I know Jon Snow so well because I have read dozens of chapters literally in his head telling me his every thought,
Yeah.
right? And some characters in the show, like, for example, I think Euron is probably the least fleshed out character that, you know, at least in terms of the characters that made it this far. I think this episode in part was good because
he was not
Euron
in
wasn't
it.
in it.
Not
because
in
every
it.
time he's on the screen, I'm just cringing. But, you know, compare those two characters, and I think it's another thing that we'll have to wait for the books to, fingers crossed, come out someday to really find out how he feels about that. Because all we get from him is, you know, denial, saying, I don't want this, you're my queen. I never, you know, it was just another thing that kind of happened off screen.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of finding out feelings, we have compiled a montage of everything the Game of Thrones cast has told ET about their reactions to filming the last episode, and it's something. Take a look.
Are you happy with how things ended? Yeah.
You people are in for it.
Talk to me about your reaction when you read the script for your final episode.
I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they did an amazing job overall with the whole season, but with Jamie also, I just really, it made sense.
I was just like numb.
No.
I was just numb when I read like my last page because it's just so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad that like that is the last time like I'm reading my character, you know, and it's just I just had to go on a long, long walk.
It felt like, because knowing how the whole thing ends, it felt like you were suddenly sort of burdened with this huge, huge secret that millions of people around the world wanted to know.
I think that we were just relieved. I was certainly relieved that we had an ending that we could send out into the world and be proud of and happy to talk about it.
I was really happy. Yeah, I was really happy and pleased.
Have you shot your final scenes yet? And are you happy with how things ended? Yeah. She didn't say yes. You didn't say yes.
Best season ever!
It's the best. It's the best season ever.
What was it like shooting those final scenes, though, and you knew it was final?
So sad. So sad, but then everyone gets ready for the emotion, and everyone's there being like, oh, it's gonna be the lot. How many more takes are we're just gonna, and then it kind of wears off, and everyone's like, okay, bye.
It was just really emotional, like, I feel like everything you do, it's like you can start to get yourself so down, being like, this is the last time I'm going to read the script, and this is like the last time I'm going to be in this location, and like, I got to a point where I had to just stop doing that, because I was going to just have like a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
I was very excited. I'm very happy for the way that my character is going to end up on Game of Thrones.
I just remember thinking, oh, the boys have done a good job.
I remember when I read the final episode,
okay.
I got up and actually genuinely had to pace around my flat for a bit.
Wow, there you go.
That was just because my legs hurt, nothing to do with the script.
This is sort of just seems like an added bonus that we're getting to watch it and celebrate it now. I said to Rose the other night, I was like, we've been tethered by this show for a long time and we've loved it. And now we get to enjoy the final hurrah.
It took me a long time to actually digest the storyline this season. I thought they did a good job.
Listen, not everybody's going to be happy, not everybody's going to be sad. You have to remember we're a bit like real life. We're not going to, the pink, pretty ribbon on this show is probably not going to happen. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
I felt all of the things you could possibly feel, and hopefully that's what people will feel when they see.
There are no better writers in television than Dan Weiss and David Benioff. They ended it brilliantly, better than I could have imagined, and you People are in for it.
Oh my gosh. We've got to talk about these comments because you guys are killing me right now. The Ancient Lantern said, yeah, just finished the episode. I'd like the last 10 years of my life back, please.
Oh my God, dude. That's too real. I don't think I'm ready to go that far yet. Let's see when the books come out, then I might have that
Meanwhile,
reaction.
It's Jenny says, I actually cried when it ended. Katie says, agree, worst season ever. I want my time back. Yeah, okay.
Honestly, I cried when this season began. Like, I was very emotional at the outset of this season watching the first episode. I was at we were both at the premiere.
We were both at the premiere. The first
New York.
episode, seeing it though in that giant auditorium with the cast there, and it was electric.
It was really emotional.
It really did feel like we were in for something great this year.
And then even seeing Jon ride a dragon, even though, like, even at the time, I was like, that didn't happen. That's not how I would have done it. But even just the sight of it was so emotional. I was just like, I was crying throughout that episode. And I feel like I've become slowly more dead inside as the season has gone on, which it sounds like some of our commenters feel the same way.
We'll get fully into that. Let's talk about one of the first things that we wanted to discuss more fully, which was Brienne finishes Jaime's story, which I thought this was such a great moment. Let's talk about this, Mike, because this was something that you really wanted to highlight.
If we were going live tomorrow morning, I would have looked up when in the show this took place, but there was a scene earlier in the show highlighting that book, and I think a lot of people who maybe haven't been following it as closely as you and I do were going, what is this giant book she's writing?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I love when Game of Thrones remembers its own history.
And it has things that it can pull from the past. It was so emotional seeing her flip through this and realizes that Jaime's page is not finished.
I'm going to go through and look at every single one of
read
these pages because I saw Sir Arthur Dayne
Yeah.
right there, and I want to read that page.
But it was just so great to see this. And Mike, you made such a really great point that you see the difference of his handwriting, and that was when he had to go from being right-handed to being left-handed.
How I interpreted that as you know, thereafter known as.
Of course.
Although now that looking at the text now, I'm not sure. But regardless, this was something from the books that it's, you know, Jaime has a whole chapter. I think in book 4 or 5. I think it must be book 4, but he has a whole chapter where he's kind of casually flipping through this book of the Kingsguard that chronicles the deeds that every member of the Kingsguard going back hundreds of years has done, and his page is just, you know, sparse.
Yes.
And he's thinking about his legacy, and it's this really beautiful chapter and how he wants to do something worthy of the other names in this book, Sir Arthur Dayne and the previous Kingsguard members. And so for Brienne, who, you know, she's not presumably, you know, again, I want to go back and try to zoom in and see everything that's on that page, but she's not just writing, you know, he ended the siege at River Run without bloodshed. He died protecting his queen.
Yeah.
She hopefully is writing
his legacy.
She hopefully is writing, you know, he saved King's Landing from burning the first time, 10 years. Like all of the things that very few characters know about Jaime.
But here's the one thing that I wanted her to write in that book, which was, he's the father of Brienne of Tarth's baby.
Yeah, died protecting his queen, impregnated Sir Brienne of Tarth.
I would have loved that, and I need to go back and scroll back up and make sure that I didn't quite miss that. But
commenter Xylo agrees with you. Brienne's baby?
Brienne's baby?
With multiple question marks. I don't know. That's one of those things.
I wanted her to stand up when she closed the book, stand up from it, and have that little baby
belly.
bump.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
thought that would have been great. I know that you don't need to have children in order to be happy as a woman, but she was so devastated when he left that it would have been nice if she had a little bit of a piece of him with her forever.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that's going to have to live in our imagination.
Yeah. Let's talk about the one thing that got me through this season.
The one thing that, honestly, I teared up.
I was so excited. Okay, yes, we did cry a little bit at this. Jon finally pet Ghost. He finally pet Ghost.
We also, we're in the office.
We were in the office. We screamed.
Fully I shrieked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like,
Are you okay?
What is happening right now?
Thank God. Look at this scene. Let's just look at it.
Jon not petting Ghost throughout. Ghost being absent for the last 2.5. Oh my God, he gets a little kiss. It's been the worst. It's like, I'm a dog person, but even if you're not, like, pet your dog,
Pet your
dude.
dog.
It's
Pet your dog.
crazy.
But no, it was great. That That to me made up for a lot.
It was the only ending that I needed. Like, anything else could have happened, and my lasting feeling from this episode is that Jon petted his dog.
He's in, like, honestly, like, Jon will take no wife, he will bear no children, but he has his dog.
But he has his dog, and like that's
and his best friend.
Yeah, Jon.
So,
I want to
you
see
know
Jon
what?
and Tormund's adventures.
Jon and Tormund's adventure. Yes, I'm
Jon
imagining
and
like
Tormund and Ghost.
Calvin and Hobbes. Like there they go, wildlings.
I loved that moment a lot, and it was like that was really the moment that I was like, we were watching that montage, and I was sitting in my seat just gnashing my teeth, going, "Where's that dog? He better pet that dog, man." And then he did.
And then he did, and then we were happy.
Freaking
Let's
out.
read some of your happy or not so happy comments right now. Grisbell says, "How is Sam a maester to the king, no less?"
He's the Archmaester
He's
of
the
the kingdom.
Archmaester
Yeah.
of the kingdom. So
Presumably some time has passed, or
Yes.
maybe they just.
I mean, a
put him
lot
on
of the maesters probably
fast-
died.
They put him on the fast track to graduation, I guess.
Yeah. Pikachu says, "I swear they filmed that scene a week ago because of our complaints," meaning Jon petting Ghost. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, they composite that in afterward.
I would not be surprised of all the backlash through
We've
it.
all read a lot about how hard it is to. Yeah, let's watch it again. Definitely.
Yeah. Jenny says, "Yes, I love Ghost. He was like you, or a good boy, Ghost. I love you, boy."
I feel like it's been at least an entire season since we saw Jon smile, or maybe since the first when he and Danny were making out in the first episode of this season. Did he smile then?
He smiled when she was like, "Come kiss your queen."
Yeah, Jon is such like a broody sad boy, which I love about him. But he's such a broody sad boy that like a Jon Snow smile is rare, and it's a beautiful sight, and especially when it relates to Good Boy Ghost.
You're such a fanboy right now, and I love it. We're going to take a couple more of your comments. We have Rami says, "Jon saved the world twice, then goes back to Ghost and the real North. That's not satisfying." I'm fine with Jon's ending. I'm fine with it.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably a few different camps among fans, right?
At
Like
this
people
point,
who
I'm
wanted
so
Jon to
exhausted
rule.
that I'm just
I think Jon ruling would have been
great.
It would have been a challenge for him, though. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't want it. It would have been like him accepting. Once
The
again,
weight
we've
of the
talked about
responsibility.
we've talked about this a lot, right? That he gets power and authority and responsibility put onto him by other people all the time, and the compromise of he, I believe, was the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. And now he's also the 999th commander, I guess, because he died and now he's swearing. Does he have to go swear the words again? I don't know, there's some logistical stuff there, but I feel like that's a good ending for him. That's kind of like his version of a peaceful ending, is he gets to go. He found out that he was a Targaryen, 20 years into his life or whatever. He's always felt like a Stark. He gets to go be a Stark in the North with his wolf. I have a question for you.
Yeah. And then I have a question for you.
Did you think that we were ever going to like meet Jon Snow as a Targaryen, and like, did you think that we were going to start calling him Aegon Targaryen at some point? You never thought? I kept waiting for a moment when he transitions into Aegon and we stopped calling him Jon Snow.
Had we seen him really take ownership of his identity, and I'm echoing the same thought that I had earlier in this episode, but had we really seen him take pride in that and challenge Dany and think of himself as a potential heir to the Iron Throne, then we as an audience would have stood behind him and maybe started calling him Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I kept waiting for a moment when I stopped thinking of him as
Jon
Snow.
Snow. Yeah.
And even, writing, I write a lot about the show, and I always write Jon Snow. And right when that reveal happened, I started writing Jon Snow / Aegon Targaryen, or like Jon Gon Snow Darien or whatever. Like, I was combining them in weird ways.
Sounds like ship.
Yeah. But it never happened, and I just noticed, that we've just gone back to, he's just Jon Snow in the end. He's not Jon Stark. He's not Aegon Targaryen.
What are some of yours unanswered questions of the season? Because I have quite a few.
Oh boy.
But one of the things that I was initially thinking of is, and it just escaped my brain right now because we're so exhausted and we're still processing the episode. But what are some of your biggest unanswered questions right now?
There's so many things that happened off screen.
Yeah.
That I feel like I say this, I'm harping on this essentially, but like things that I look forward to reading the full version of that they cut for time.
Yeah.
Arya and Sansa reacting to learning about Jon's true identity, right? Like Jon getting arrested. We were watching him murder the queen, and Drogon flies away, and it's like, what? How is he going to get out of this room? What is going to happen next? And then we get a time. The next scene is Tyrion's beard is this long. We go, was that a time jump?
Yeah.
What the hell? So we don't get to see. I'm sure more things will come to me, as we think and write about this episode endlessly. But for me, like, there were just so many things I wanted to see that ultimately got cut.
I remembered.
Good.
Who are the green eyes that Arya was supposed to kill?
Oh yeah. I mean, is the lesson prophecy
doesn't always come true?
matter?
Is it that this prophecy was different than what was actually in the books, so they didn't feel that they needed to stay beholden to it? That was a show prophecy that she gave her. So honestly, had Arya at the last minute killed one last person before she left, and it was like a nobody, but they had green eyes.
She just remembers she's getting on the boat. She goes, "Oh, hang on a second. Who has green eyes?" Okay.
Yeah.
Here's one. What did Varys? What was the voice that he heard in the flames? That's a story from the books. It's a story from the show. It's something that the show strangely called back to with.
Yes.
My God, am I going to remember her name? Kinvara? Was that her name?
Wow, that was impressive. Yeah, I think that was her
It
name.
might. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But the Red Priestess who showed up in Marine in season 5 or 6 for one episode.
We have some really great fan questions.
She mentioned that.
CJM says the reference to the child sacrifice and babies with the Night King.
Right.
I mean, I think it was just that those were the Night King's generals and that they were all Craster's kids and that we were just supposed to assume that. But yes, I would have loved in the final scene when Jon and the wildlings were walking up north, how great would it have been if they had stumbled on dead bodies in another swirling symbol?
Yeah, and the cycle continues.
I would have loved that. It would have made no sense, but I would have loved it.
Or if we had learned something more about the White Walkers and what they wanted beyond kill everyone.
One of my favorite.
And the last scene is is Jon and the wildlings going north, and they enter the forest. They enter a clearing, and the White Walkers come out, and they're brokering a peace now with them. And the cycle doesn't continue.
One of my favorite theories that I'm choosing to believe is partly true, because I think it would have been incredible, was that the big twist would have been that the Night King was not evil, and that it's actually the three-eyed raven that's evil, and that Bran died once the three-eyed raven took over his body. And what would have happened was that the Night King was looking to kill the three-eyed raven from getting power, because he was actually the one that was going to be the doom of men.
Yeah, I mean, the ending that we got could not be more the opposite of that.
But that would have been so cool.
What about like, I think this was a Reddit comment I saw recently, but the fact that the White Walkers came to Winterfell, and those are, I believe, we're meant to believe that they're Craster's sons, right, from over the decades. And Craster's last son is at Winterfell in the crypts with Gilly. And that just, it would have been really cool for there to be some moment with that kid, because it seemed like that kid was like a Chekhov's gun on the wall, like,
exactly.
And it wound up not mattering.
Well, and Tasha's biggest question is, where did Bran go during the Battle of Winterfell when he warged out of there and was like, hey, BRB?
Yeah. That's more of a question for the writers, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. That's not something that I necessarily want to know, because I don't think there is an answer.
Had it been a big reveal and it's like they helped win that battle because Bran was doing this warg thing, then that would have been great.
Why couldn't I still wanted Bran to have warged into undead Viserion?
Yes.
Or something, but instead Jon just yelled at him. Another thing I wanted to see is Jon and Dany having a conversation about Aemon Targaryen. And I was thrilled that Aemon got a shout out in this episode, right? As soon as he said that quote.
And he was talking to Tyrion.
As soon as he said that quote, love is the death of duty, I went, Aemon, season 2. And then he said it right afterward. So they remember that Aemon exists, but like nobody thought they should tell Dany that like her great grandpa, or someone will correct me on their exact relationship, but that she had a family member alive at the wall all this time. Super sad.
Super sad. I think we've discussed about as much as we can for this. considering we're going off of no sleep right now and still trying to process this episode. And it sounds like you guys are all pretty conflicted as well. So keep commenting and keep tweeting us with your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight and for this entire season of Theories and Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, it was bittersweet. That's what they said. And, you know, I feel that right now. But regardless, it has been really fun and really great to talk about this here with you and with all you guys, to hear all your comments, thoughts, and theories about the final season as this has wrapped up and it's the end of an era.
Yeah, and if you have any lingering feelings about how you think this season should have ended, you can always tweet Mike and I.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, because we'll have a lot of thoughts. Thanks again for joining us for Theories and Thrones this season, and I guess we won't be seeing you until we come together on our next show.
There's a prequel coming, right?
I mean, oh God. Bye, guys.
Bye.